If self-care is so important for midlife women, then why isn't it working? By the time women reach their 50s into their 60s, they have spent multiple decades being the caretaker of children, a spouse, their career responsibilities, including their teams, and maybe even now aging parents. What midlife women do not understand is that this massive output of physical and emotional energies incurs a debt to their physical, emotional, and mental health. I'm Lynette, life architect, founder of Iconic Global and the Rise Immersion, and this is a life redesign. Every week, we talk about what it takes to build a life in midlife on your own terms, not by default, by design. Midlife women rack up a huge debt when they sacrifice their well being to be others' caretakers. But what happens if they don't start paying down or paying off the debt? The result can be burnout, a health scare, or even resentment towards themselves and others, especially resentment towards those who are not carrying such a load of physical debt as they are. One of the underlying problems is the perception that to say no and give yourself some relief or time away from your caretaking duties is like walking away from the construction of a home before the plumbing and the electrical is installed. So you stay on the job, fulfilling the needs of others whilst yours are unfulfilled. But, ladies, you must understand that to give your self care is not indulgent, it is maintenance. Not only can't you keep giving of yourself until you are depleted and ill, but if you are ill, you can't give to others either. And since women are living so much longer, we still have another 30 to 40 years that we need to keep our body structure well maintained so that it can continue to house the life we want to live. So, taking care of our needs can't be treated as optional. The primary overarching problem is that midlife women are taking care of the needs of everyone else so that they defer their own self care. Or in many cases, it gets deleted off the list because their life is so full. For those women who do attempt self care, they approach it all wrong. Mainstream media would try to frame self care as a fitness class, a massage, a spa day, or maybe a sip and paint party. But these are coping mechanisms. Adding on activities to an overloaded life structure won't fix the underlying problem. You're treating the symptoms and not the problem. And this, placing more pressure in your life, will be leaving your life structure exhausted and sometimes broken. When you buy into these supplemental forms of self care, you're forcing yourself into the trap of relaxation. It can lead to a form of burnout because you are layering activities on top of an already exhausted life. Feeling that these are the things that you must do to show yourself and others you are taking care of yourself. These activities will not lead to true relaxation. In midlife and at any stage of your life, if you are feeling overwhelmed, it is rarely due to a lack of pampering yourself. It shows a lack of alignment. What you need to do is assess where your calendar, your commitments, your energy, and your superwoman fix it complex. Because ladies, we know we have it. I was there until I made my cape invisible. You have to assess where you are subsidizing everyone else's priorities, thereby leaving you depleted, stressed, and overwhelmed. When you feel that you have an obligation to carry out routines for others, it can create continuous nervous system friction. It's not about asking yourself, how do I relieve stress? Even though that is a very important question. What you must ask yourself is, why is my life generating so much stress? Self care in midlife is not supplemental. It should be an act of life architecture and boundary preservation. And that is why self care includes caring for your mental, emotional, and physical health. Women typically cringe at the thought of boundaries. Like, oh my God. It's like the thought or the gall of me saying no when I feel obligated to say yes. Particularly, once a woman arrives at midlife, she must stop viewing boundaries as confrontation and reframe it as structural stability for her life, especially if she intends to live out another 30 or 40 years. Because she can't live out another 30 or 40 years if her life is so overwhelmed, so overburdened, so overly stressed that she is ill, she ends up having a significant health issue. She can't enjoy those years, or she may not make it to those years. So, some structural tips to help in your self care redesign is to identify the top 3 areas where you leak time and energy to unaligned demands that leave you exhausted. Once you have identified these areas of leak, create clear, firm, but polite, unshakable refusals for tasks you no longer have the bandwidth to absorb. No woman's splaining, which is over explaining and apologizing for enforcing your personal limits. Ladies, that is a bad habit that must stop. Don't have any guilt and don't allow anyone to shame you for putting in boundaries. We discussed perimenopause and menopause in an earlier video, which I have linked in the description. During this phase of your life when you are experiencing hormonal shifts, you have a lower tolerance for chronic stress. So it is essential that you schedule in daily pauses to slow down and stop. That signals safety to your nervous system. Ladies, this is non-negotiable. Replace high intensity, stress inducing routines with grounding physical practices, such as taking time to just sit without being rushed to serve someone else's needs, taking a mindful rest without thinking about all the things that you need to do. Just think about sitting there and just being able to let your body exhale. Listening to somatic music to regulate your nervous system, reading for fun or self improvement, or even grounding in a forest bath. It is important that you protect your sleep window and morning routine by setting regular sleep and waking hours as mandatory health infrastructure. These kinds of activities truly have a lasting benefit to you emotionally, mentally, and physically. As mentioned earlier, self-care is not indulgent, and don't ever let anyone convince you that it is. We must invalidate social conditioning that brands midlife female desire as selfish or frivolous. Desire is not indulgent, it is data. It's coded information that your body needs to build not only your daily environment, but also the life that you are redesigning. So catalog your preferences. Journal what genuinely brings you rest, joy, and intellectual stimulation. And start doing those things. Again, mainstream media promotes self-care like it is escapism. are not trying to escape life. You are putting practices in place that serves as a simple daily framework where rest and creative margin are built in, not something that you must earn. So start trimming back obligations that no longer fit the woman that you have become. Shift from reactive coping to proactive life authorship. Doing these things that make your mind and body feel good. By building routines built on internal authority and not the need to perform for others is self-care that will see you through the next few decades. I'm glad you're here. And if this has landed, subscribe to the channel. A life redesign is about one thing: living by design, not by default.